What first appeared to be a shocking Hollywood tragedy is now unfolding into something far more unsettling. As early forensic findings begin to reshape everything investigators thought they knew. What's disturbing authorities most isn't just what happened, but how slowly it seems to have built beneath the surface. According to preliminary analysis, this was not a sudden explosion of emotion. It was a night marked by escalation, silence, and calculated movement. Investigators have narrowed down a crucial window of time, and what that timeline implies has reportedly rattled even the most experienced experts. Sources close to the case suggest the tension may have started hours earlier, during a holiday gathering attended by several high-profile figures. Multiple guests later recalled Nick appearing visibly tense, distracted, and emotionally unstable throughout the evening. What began as a disagreement, according to those accounts, didn't end when the party did. Instead, it appears to have followed him home, quietly setting the stage for everything that would unfold next. After leaving the event, Nick allegedly made his way back toward the Brentwood area. Authorities reviewing surveillance footage described his demeanor as controlled and deliberate. There were no obvious signs of panic or chaos. His movements appeared steady, almost rehearsed. That calm exterior has since become one of the most troubling aspects of the case. Records indicate he later checked into a nearby hotel. Staff members reported nothing unusual. He was polite, composed, and kept to himself. No raised voice, no visible distress, just a quiet presence that blended into the background. But investigators say what happened shortly after raised immediate concern. Within a remarkably short span of time, Nick had secured legal representation from one of the most prominent defense attorneys in the country. The speed of that decision alone triggered serious questions. According to sources, the arrangement was allegedly made using family inheritance funds. The confidence and urgency behind that move stood out. For seasoned investigators, it suggested forethought rather than confusion. Why would someone act so decisively so quickly? The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office later confirmed that the incident inside the home occurred sometime between midnight and the early morning hours. There were no signs of forced entry. None were necessary. Whoever was involved had full access, familiarity, and knowledge of the residents. Security data later placed Nick at a hotel in Santa Monica around 4 in the morning, roughly 20 minutes from the Brentwood property. Hotel employees reported no erratic behavior, no frantic calls, no breakdowns. He sat quietly, detached, as if removed from the gravity of what was unfolding elsewhere. Hours later, unease turned into alarm. A scheduled visitor arrived at the home and received no response. Calls went unanswered. When the door was finally opened, the situation shifted instantly. Authorities were called, the scene was secured, and investigators quickly realized this was not a spontaneous act. It was the final chapter of a night that had been unraveling in silence. Earlier that evening, surveillance cameras captured Nick at a gas station near Exposition Park. Footage showed him purchasing a sports drink. He appeared restless, pacing slightly, scanning his surroundings. Still, he remained composed enough to complete the transaction without drawing attention. At approximately 9:15 p.m., law enforcement officers working alongside federal agents detained him nearby. There was no resistance, no explanation offered. He remained silent as he was taken into custody. Video from that moment depicts someone emotionally drained rather than panicked. Later, forensic estimates suggested the victims had likely passed several hours before they were discovered. That revelation deepened the mystery and forced investigators to confront a difficult question. What truly led to that breaking point? Friends often said Rob lived by a single principle: a parent does not abandon their child. That belief shaped every decision he made. Even as circumstances grew more volatile, his loyalty never wavered. Eventually, what those close to the family described as necessary boundaries led Nick to move out and attempt life on his own. He drifted from state to state, Maine, New Jersey, Texas, searching for independence, but encountering instability instead. There was a brief glimmer of optimism in 2015 when Nick managed a period of sobriety long enough to collaborate with his father on the film Being Charlie. The story echoed his own struggles, and for a time, it brought father and son closer. Trust cautiously returned. That progress did not last. By 2018, another relapse reportedly triggered a destructive episode that resulted in serious damage to property. 2 years later, Rob and Michelle made a difficult decision to let Nick move back home. Once again, hoping close supervision might provide stability. Friends say their hope was fragile by then. In the months leading up to the incident, Nick's behavior allegedly became increasingly erratic. That history now hangs heavily over the courtroom. Many believe substance dependence and mental health issues will play a central role in the defense. Alan Jackson has built a reputation around cases that examine psychological state and intent. Some legal observers believe the argument may focus on whether years of addiction compromised Nick's ability to control his actions that night. Witnesses at the Santa Monica Hotel reportedly described him as deeply impaired. Still, investigators have been clear on one point: substance use alone does not erase accountability. Under California law, voluntary intoxication rarely excuses criminal behavior. At most, it can influence how intent is interpreted, and intent is the core battleground in this case. Prosecutors are already signaling their position. They argue that prior disputes, controlled movements, and post-incident decisions point to awareness rather than confusion. If evidence shows preparation instead of panic, the defense faces a daunting challenge. With special circumstances attached, Nick could face life without the possibility of release. Even without enhancements, sentencing could still range from 25 years to life. Authorities have also stated there is no evidence supporting self-defense or accidental harm. Experts describe the incident as driven by intense emotion and loss of restraint, not mistake. What raises the stakes even further is the public stature of the victims, long-standing Hollywood figures with deep industry connections. Potential witnesses reportedly include Conan O'Brien, Larry David, and Billy Crystal, turning the case into a possible national spectacle. Analysts believe the trial itself may not begin until late 2026 or early 2027, with a plea deal considered unlikely. Forensic findings reportedly place Nick directly at the scene, supported by biological evidence and surveillance data. Age may also become a focal point. Rob and Michelle were elderly. Nick was 32. Prosecutors are expected to highlight that imbalance, along with the prolonged nature of the incident, as indicators of intent. Then attention returns to the night many believe set everything in motion, the Christmas gathering hosted by Conan O'Brien. Rob and Michelle brought Nick with them out of concern. Friends say his behavior had become unpredictable, and leaving him alone felt risky. At the party, Nick stood apart. While others laughed and socialized, he lingered on the edges, hood pulled tight, scanning the room. Guests sensed something was off. He approached people abruptly, asking blunt, uncomfortable questions. Tension peaked after an awkward interaction with another guest, after which Nick suddenly walked away. The mood shifted. Laughter faded. Michelle attempted to smooth things over while Rob quietly monitored the situation. By around 10 o'clock, the couple was ready to leave. Guests noticed them whispering to each other, aware that something wasn't right. Then the situation escalated. not loud enough to stop the music, but sharp enough to draw attention. One insider later claimed Nick accused his parents of talking about him behind his back, his voice tight with anger. Rob tried to calm him, speaking softly. "Let's just go home," he reportedly said. But Nick pushed past him, knocking over a small table of drinks. Security intervened, and Conan O'Brien stepped in to help de-escalate. "It's okay. Let's get some air," he reportedly told them. Outside, the December cold cut through the tension. Rob guided Nick toward the car, still trying to reason with him. Michelle followed a few steps behind, visibly shaken. Witnesses said Nick paced near the driveway, hands trembling, arguing in short bursts, before finally getting into the car and slamming the door. The family left quietly. To most guests, it was an uncomfortable moment that seemed destined to fade. For Rob and Michelle, that drive home marked the beginning of their final hours. Neighbors later reported hearing muffled voices and faint arguing around midnight, nothing that initially raised alarm. By morning, the same house would become the center of an investigation that stunned Hollywood. Investigators believed the drive home was tense. Nick allegedly accused his parents of humiliating him. Rob tried to defuse the situation, urging rest and calm. But once inside the house, the confrontation intensified. Forensic specialists believe that sometime between midnight and the early morning hours, Nick entered the master bedroom where his parents were resting. What drove him remains unclear: anger, emotional collapse, or something deeper. What followed has been described as extreme and deeply disturbing. What makes the case harder to process is how ordinary the evening began. Friends say Rob and Michelle were cautiously optimistic about Nick's progress. They believed recent therapy and medication were helping. Rob had even spoken about a new creative project they might pursue together. No one imagined how quickly everything would unravel. News of the discovery sent shockwaves through Hollywood. At first, it spread in whispers. Then, confirmation followed. Tributes flooded social media as colleagues and fans struggled to comprehend how a family so beloved could be destroyed in a single night. Attention quickly turned to Nick, his mental state, his past, and the warning signs people now wondered if they had missed. Old interviews resurfaced, including one in which Nick said, "I feel like I was born into a spotlight. I never asked for that." The words echoed with painful weight. As investigators pieced together surveillance footage, forensic data, and witness accounts from the party, the timeline sharpened. The tension, the argument, the abrupt departure. Everything began to align. Yet deeper questions remain about responsibility, about limits, about how far love can stretch before it breaks. Psychologists consulted by multiple outlets described the situation as a perfect storm. Long-term instability, emotional volatility, and unresolved trauma colliding at once. Even Conan O'Brien, who rarely comments on private matters, released a brief statement expressing sorrow and disbelief. Nearly a year later, the case continues to dominate headlines. What was meant to be a joyful December celebration became the opening chapter of one of Hollywood's most haunting stories. A reminder that success offers no shield against inner chaos, and that some families fight with everything they have and still lose.